Welcome to the WanderLearn podcast. I'm your host, Tapon. Where's that damn book about Africa? That's what everybody's asking me. Sym Blanchard asked me the same question. Where are we at? I'm past the Nigeria chapter, which was the headache. I talk about that being my headache. So a little update there. At least I got that out of the way. He also talks about the various things that motivate people like him and me to travel. What is it that really is the prime root for our motivation? Makes you maybe think about what your motivation is in life. And where are the best places to be, the best places to travel, the best places I've ever seen in my whole life, the best experiences I've ever had in my life. These are tough questions for me to answer, and that's some of the things I try to tackle in this conversation I have with Sym Blanchard, a 7-year-old guy who's been traveling around the world, vagabonding, and a true inspiration to all. Make sure you don't miss the previous episodes where I'm interviewing him. I've had him on my show for at least 5 times. He's such a great guest, always popular. Everybody loves him. And don't forget to be a patron at patreon.com/ftapon. They're the ones who support this show.
So how's your book on Africa?
It's about 20% done.
Oh,
I'm working on trying to finish it. It's really hard. I'm just finishing, probably this month I'll be finishing the Nigeria chapter, which has been the beast because it's the hardest chapter to write.
Yeah.
Because it's the most important country in Africa.
Yeah.
And I want to get it right. I've had to trim quite a bit of it. Anyway, I'm working on it. And once I get through Nigeria, it's going to be pretty much clean sailing for the next few chapters until I get to South Africa, which will be another high pressure chapter because a lot of people know South Africa. They have opinions about South Africa. It's a sensitive place with a lot of racism issues and stuff like that. To write about it's delicate, takes time. It's a complex place.
Yeah.
And that's going to slow me down a bit. And then I think that's probably the next big hurdle. And the rest of it should be relatively straightforward.
Wow. And I heard you were updating your Hike Your Own Hike in Hidden Europe.
I'll be doing the Hike Your Own Hike a little bit. And then Hidden Europe, I did update it. But then this whole fucking war in Ukraine broke out. So now I have to update it again. But I did say a funny line in the book. I said, there will not be a war. I wrote this 10 years ago. I said, there will not be a war between Ukraine and Russia unless somebody in the Kremlin drinks too much vodka.
There you go. That's
so now you know what Putin was drinking.
Yeah. Putin on the Ritz. Yeah.
Exactly. Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Check my notes here. And you've got a wonderful lifestyle, and I admire it, and I try to emulate the things that I feel work for me. What do you think is inspiring you most to do what you're doing now?
I mean, I'm kind of hedonistic in the sense that I just pursue my pleasure in that sense. So that what inspires me is just like it feels good to travel and it feels good to talk to people. I like to write and I enjoy doing podcasts and videos. I just kind of pursue that. So that's what inspires me. I mean, it feels great when people like my content. Great. That's a pat on the back. But yeah. That's what inspires me.
So curiosity, you love to explore these places? Yeah, of course.
Yeah, curiosity, yeah.
Yeah, so you've always had that, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Getting out and see that. And connection, do you feel like you're connecting?
Yeah, you had a list of it. Read it.
I do. Okay,
read it.
Read it. Learning. I mean, your thing is WanderLearn.
Yeah.
Growing. Bragging rights. I mean, you...
Growing. Yeah, I guess growing, yeah. And bragging rights, yeah, absolutely.
You're Mont Blanc. Oh, my God.
Yeah. I mean, bragging rights, I'm a narcissist. I'm a professional narcissist, actually.
Yeah, that's right.
So I got to brag.
Yeah, your Continental Divide yo-yo is amazing.
Yeah. It's just like... Okay. I hate it when people's like, no, I'm not trying to brag. Of course you are. Come on, shut up.
Yeah,
Especially if you're on social media, and everybody is practically.
Yeah, and you only want to show a certain side.
Yeah.
Fun.
Yeah, of course it's fun. I'm hedonistic, I told you.
Yeah, freedom.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, you are free.
I'm super free. I'm about as free as can be.
Yeah, me too. I love it. Innovation. Do you feel innovative, creative when you plan your adventures and where you go and... okay, well, I'm going to go to Marbella, and now I'm going to go to Morocco, or I don't know.
I don't know if innovation is the right word,
okay.
but I understand what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, there's a certain amount of innovation that I just make shit up as I go along, but I don't know if there's much credit. To me, innovation is somebody who's inventing something unique or at least innovative.
Well, your lifestyle or what your life is going.
I don't know. I don't know how much credit I would give myself for that.
Okay. And what about adventure?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, isn't it?
Yeah.
And nonconformity. Do you feel like...
I think there's a side of me that just like tries to do things just to go against the grain.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's my prime motivating factor. Is like, oh, let me just do the opposite of what everybody else is doing. I just happen to do what I love, and sometimes that's countercultural.
Right.
But I don't know if I do it just... Because that would be stupid if like I do something that's against the grain, but I don't really want to do it. I'm just doing it to like be against the grain. Like,
right. Yeah. Like, I don't see that. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I really want to marry, but I'm just not going to marry because that's countercultural.
Right.
Or,
yeah.
I really want children, but I'm not going to have children just to like be different than everybody else. That's stupid. If I really want children, I'm going to have fucking children.
Yeah. Well, one conventional aspiration you had was your Harvard MBA, and you got that.
Yeah.
But you did it with a religion
degree.
Degree. So that's a little bit.
But again, it wasn't. Yeah. Anyway, continue.
Yeah. Cultural experiences.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, that's actually one of the big joys I have for traveling is the fact that I love to learn about cultures and learn about the differences and learn about how women are treated in different countries, how children are treated, how men act and how they treat their grandparents and how they raise each other and what the food is like and what's the music like and what do they eat and how do they cook and what time do they go to bed and, what's the nightlife like and, all these things, everything about culture. It's just fascinating to me. And that's just I find it interesting because there's so many things we have in common, so many things we have different. And just understanding all those differences, but actually explaining it and spelling it out. Because a lot of times people will say things like, Africans are so diverse. Yes, we know that, but what the fuck does that mean? Mm-hmm. How does that translate to? Are Kenyans smarter than Tanzanians? You can't say that because it's like all of a sudden that's politically incorrect. But guess what? Some Africans are smarter than others. Yeah. Some have better, and some are better athletics or some are better at singing or whatever. I mean, singing is kind of subjective, but you get my point is that some are taller, some are fatter, some are whatever. I mean, there are differences and I like to actually spell it out. But too often people just say they're different and there's diversity, but they don't actually go in. And they don't talk about all the similarities because there's a ton of similarities. And people will say, oh, yeah, there's similarities between Homo sapiens. And we all love to do that. Like, oh, we're all at the base. We're all the same. Okay, great. What does that mean? And can we get a little bit more categorization there? Because saying it for all Homo sapiens to jump from that to another, I don't know. It's just not interesting enough. I want to know, like, are continents different from each other or regions different from each other, countries different from each other, and what they're similar.
I wonder if you, coming from a multicultural family, your mom's from Chile and your dad's from France and your wife is from Africa, I mean, it seems like that instills in you that love of understanding cultures and
I mean, it's definitely in my DNA and in my upbringing. It's natural.
Something to be treasured. What are some of the most memorable, beautiful, meaningful places that you've visited?
You and I had great adventures in the Drakensberg Traverse, for example, in South Africa. And
one of my highlights.
Yeah. I loved walking across Madagascar with you. Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, that was
the Continental Divide Trail was incredible.
Oh, man.
There's, I love Namibia a lot. Yeah. And I liked Mauritius. You and I went to Mauritius together. Yeah. That was one of the best. That is of course. That I would say is the best country in Africa.
Wasn't it?
Period.
Yeah.
It's most the best country. If I had to live, it's not the most developed, but it's one of the most developed. Yeah, Seychelles is better.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, Seychelles is more developed.
Okay. Not the Camino, though. That wasn't one of your highlights. Camino de Santiago.
Oh, no, it's not one of my highlights. No. But
you wrote a famous article about
that. Yeah. It's got like 3 million hits. Of like,
is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Top 10 reasons why the El Camino de Santiago sucks.
Cool. So what is your... okay, and you mentioned your plans. I think you were going to do Islam in 2024?
Yeah, so I call it the Into Islam Tour, which is basically going into the Middle East, including Central Asia. And most of those countries are Islamic. I realize Islam goes into North Africa as well. But I'm going to be focusing on about 25 countries, all the Stans, as well as all the Middle East.
And we talked a little bit about my budget things and a little bit about yours, but can you go more into when you go to the Stans and to the Islam countries, are you going to, what are some of your budget saving tips? I mean, you're doing house sitting, you're looking for cheap places to stay. Do you do couch surfing or?
Yeah, so I can put a link in the description where you can get 25% off on the subscription to trustedhousesitters.com, which is what I use to house sit. And you always have to take care of an animal, usually, or multiple animals in some cases. But it's cool. You get free housing. Wow. And so that's nice. And sometimes even a car they include. In certain cases, they'll throw in a car. But then, of course, it ties you down because you usually have to, be there every night. And sometimes, you can't leave for more than 8 hours because the dog has to pee.
Yeah.
But overall, it's a great way to kind of hang out a place. But there's not that many opportunities in the Middle East and the Stans. In Dubai, you'll find some house sits for sure.
Okay.
There are definitely, but those are mainly expats who live there who, have a cat in their high-rise apartment in Dubai, and they need somebody to stay there for a few weeks or something like that. And so I'll use it there, but for the most part, Middle East is not. Also, the Middle East is probably not that terribly expensive, so you can probably stay at hotels. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time in the Middle East, frankly. I mean, maybe I'm going to be wrong, but I don't really like societies that segregate themselves by gender.
Right.
And so I kind of like the mingling of the sexes and just meet, and not feel like, okay, I'm just hanging out with dudes all day long.
You'll probably spend some time in Israel then.
Yeah, sure. Israel and I think Lebanon is kind of pretty mixed. And I mean, there's a lot of places. Jordan is probably mixed. I don't know. But, and I think a lot of the Stans, I imagine, are relatively mixed. I think Tajikistan and Turkmenistan, probably relatively mixed, but what do I know? Yeah. But anyway, that's the point. And probably Iran, especially in Tehran, there's probably a little bit of mixing, I suppose. I have no idea. I mean, that's the whole point of going there.
Now, you seem to be very healthy and fit. What nutrition and exercise and sleep and what tips do you have when you're traveling and you have your the lifestyle you lead? What things do you make sure you do to keep in the best shape you can?
So I have a watch and I track my steps and try to do 10,000 steps a day. And that's pretty easy most of the time if you're out and about. If you're not, then I go for, if I'm kind of staying put for a few days or weeks, then I will run every day for about 30 to 60 minutes. And I love podcasts because before 30 minutes was a drag to run because I'm like, oh God, I got to run. And you're just sitting there doing nothing. But now, since I can listen to podcasts, I can run for 60 minutes. It's like, what a pleasure. You almost like look forward to getting stuck in a traffic jam because you're like, hey, I can listen to more podcasts.
That's right.
Oh, I got to wait in a line? Wonderful. I get to listen to those podcasts I got to catch up on. So it's actually kind of fun. Podcasts have really transformed it. Or even just washing dishes, doing chores, sweeping the floor. All these things have which were before real chores that nobody looked forward to. I actually kind of look forward to them in a perverse way in the sense that it gives me more time to listen to podcasts, get educated, learn some new things, be entertained, whatever it is. And that ends this episode of the WanderLearn podcast, where we explore travel, technology, and transformation. If you'd like to see the show notes with links to what we've talked about, go to WanderLearn.com and click on this episode. If you'd like to connect with me, just remember Tapon. That's my first initial and my last name. Tapon is always my social media username. My website is ftapon.com. Do you want to leave me an anonymous voicemail where you can make a comment or ask a question? Then go to speakpipe.com/ftapon. Furthermore, if you'd like to get rewarded for supporting my projects, then go to patreon.com/ftapon. That's where you can pick up some remarkable rewards for as little as $2 a month. Now, 5 quick favors. Number 1, subscribe to the WanderLearn podcast. 2, download it. 3, share it. 4, review it. And 5, sign up for my newsletter at wanderlearn.com. Our theme music was composed by Eric Stratman. This is Francis Tapon, encouraging you to wander and learn.